I guess I should state clearly why it is that a charity with the name of the Coventry Refugee and Migrant Centre, it tells you what we do on the can. We're a charity that helps refugees and migrants. But why is it that we should now choose to deliver our services in the future based on a social enterprise model? Well, the principal reasons are, one, that faced with austerity measures, traditional mechanisms for generating income for our charity services, many of them from the taxpayer, are no longer available. It's also the case that funds from private donors have also decreased. And austerity is one reason. The second is that whilst it seems our traditional way of earning money to pay for our charitable services has gone down, our client needs are greater. And our clients, refugees and migrants, have pretty much the same needs as any other human being. They need housing in our society, they need health, education, housing, welfare, employment, and all those services. So the second reason for going down the enterprise route is client need itself. The third reason, in some ways, is somewhat more problematic. As a charity, if I were to go out on any high street in the UK, but our local market in Coventry, and go to the first 100 people and ask them if they had £1 to give to charity, which one would they choose? And that basket of choices included the normal charities, everything to do with health, perhaps the Heart Foundation or cancer charities, to children's charities, to charities that take care of the elderly. I can pretty much tell you, because I've tried it, that refugee and migrant charities are lucky to receive even a bean from people when given a choice. The reason for that is frankly because, in my opinion, as a chief executive of a refugee and migrant charity, our clients have been much maligned for their impact on local communities. And by much maligned, I mean things have been attributed to their presence for which they could not possibly have been responsible. Most people, unfortunately most voters, and certainly it's the consensus amongst our leading politicians and political parties, that the impact of newcomers, refugees or migrants is almost always entirely negative. At least that's the impression you get. What I'd like to suggest is capitalism that works is always social. In short, by going into businesses, and we're calling them social enterprise, you have to remember that all good business is social. And in fact, if we've got to a state where our banks are in crisis because of their lack of integrity and the unethical behaviour of those institutions, it wasn't always like that. There was a time when most of our banking system, some centuries ago as it started, was actually created and put together by migrants. Quaker and Jewish communities across Europe were responsible for much of the banking system of the early days. And of course, in those days, they had ethics and principles, and they were social enterprises. Companies like Cadbury's, Rowntree's were social enterprises. So part of what we aim to do is to show that actually what history truly shows is that practically every cycle of wealth in human societies is created through markets that involve new entrants to that market. Whether you go to ancient Babylon or ancient Greece or Rome or more modern systems and the development of early capitalism, you find it only develops new cycles of wealth with refugees and migrants. It's always been the case. And in some ways, we want to put that back on the agenda, that actually refugees and migrants are not negative. They are the positive source of wealth creation. And we as a society in the world economy needs wealth creation today. The final reason for why the charity goes along this social enterprise route is to understand that if our refugee and migrant communities are left in a parlous state they find themselves in at the moment, where practically every political party, every social policy is directed at some negative impact around their presence, then it's likely that the already emerging conflicts between communities, especially based on ethnicity, will increase. Extremists from all communities will benefit from this. And this, we believe, does considerable violence to our city's legacy. Coventry has a special place. You know, Sheffield can have its steel industry and cutlery. We have a legacy of peace and reconciliation. So that ultimately is another reason why social enterprise. So these are reasons essentially based on the charity's values, and our social enterprise and technology centre and the role it's going to play will be based on the strengths of our clients and our client communities. And by that we mean there's a tendency even in the charity sector to see our clients as needy, as having negative impacts on housing need, on health services needs, etc. And we just want people to understand that many refugees and migrants survive incredible journeys to get here and seek sanctuary in our city. Those journeys, those personal narratives, mean that they have skills and coping strategies that many of us, grown up in a free and pluralistic society, have never had to unlock. They have. If you step outside of our site for the set operations on Vine Street in Hillfield, within 100 to 200 metres you will see a range of new ethnic businesses, none of them subsidised by the state, yet few of them receiving the necessary microfinance support they might need to create further cycles of wealth. And we intend to lock into that potential and to unlock the wealth creation potential of refugee and migrant communities. We do so from a localism agenda, and we've chosen Hillfields as the local community. But that choice was made for us by both the host communities of Coventry and the new communities of Coventry. Every Coventrian knows that that's where the new migrants and immigrants go first when they get here. They go to Hillfields. And it's certainly the case that our charity statistics confirm that the majority of our clients first presenting to the charity for assistance are resident in Hillfields. And the host community of Hillfields, coming not from classic white English backgrounds, but itself from settled Caribbean and Asian and host Irish and Anglican communities in Hillfields, do feel the negative impact of having to share what is high demand for housing, high demand for employment, high demand for NHS services. And it's understandable those host communities can sometimes become resentful of the newcomers coming to share what is a very poor slice of the cake in the community of Hillfield.